Indeed, indeed. A very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching us from. My name is Mutathio Shirawanyaga, Mujiro wa Baria Karigithi, na ngwihoka kuma ng'ongo ciothe iria ciumaga kuho. Muri thayo, thayo, thayo. Welcome to the State of the Continent. Today is the 25th day of the month of February. The year is still 2024, the year is still young. And we are here to tell you what is happening in the continent. So this is State of the Continent. A very good evening indeed here in Nairobi. So it's a good day for me. I don't know whether my fellow panelists will be saying the same over and above. Maybe let us hear from them. Mina, tell us how you are this week. How is it has been, and what's next?
Indeed, it has been a good day. My week has been hectic, but today at least I've got a chance to relax and it has been fun, basically. Yeah. And I'm always happy to be in an African panel discussing African issues. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, Jeff. How are you? Tell us how your week has
Hello,
been and maybe what is going on.
hello, good evening. I'm Jeff Miner. My week has been very hectic, but we are still trying out there. But nimeshukuru, maona mvua imeanza kutokea, the hot of the sun imeanza kupungua.
Yeah, true, true, true. The sun is going. Last time you were saying it is very hot, and then right now the rain is coming, and we just hope that people are ready now to plant. You know, and basically, let us start off what is happening in the continent, and I'll start off at or in Ivory Coast. Yeah, just the other day, a lot of things was happening in Ivory Coast, and it is still a busy country. And here we are seeing that the Ivorian president, his name is President Alassane Ouattara. Collins will tell me whether I've pronounced his name right. Has pardoned and ordered the release of 51 people convicted of treason and other security charges. When you're convicted of treason, you basically that's a capital punishment, and most of the times you are supposed to be executed. But what you're seeing here is that the Ivorian president has pardoned the 51 people that were convicted of treason in Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast. So the beneficiaries here include military and civilian figures who were convicted during the post-electoral crisis that was happening there, and they were said that they were endangering the state security of Ivory Coast. So they were taken to court and they were convicted of treason. So I don't know. That is basically what was happening in Ivory Coast. I don't know whether Collins you got a chance to see that, but in Kenya we also have treason, and many people are convicted to death. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I could only. I think a pardon is only right when someone has been convicted wrongfully. I
Mm.
believe if someone was convicted of a crime and they are serving it rightfully, a pardon does not sit very well with the people who the crime was committed against. So it might be good in a way, yes, but some part of me
You,
thinks
you,
that that is not
True, you have seen what
absolutely
has been
right.
happening in our own country here in Kenya, that people who are having court cases and then you hear that the court has thrown away that case. You have heard about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just goes to beg the question about our judiciary system and what our judges are doing or our court systems are doing. And
Mm.
from the Ivory Coast, I'd like to take you straight to the south of Africa in Zimbabwe, where we are getting some sad news that about 700 people have been confirmed dead due
Sorry.
to
Have you said
cholera.
Zimbabwe or Zambia?
Zambia,
Okay.
Zambia, where 700 people have been confirmed dead as a result of a cholera outbreak, which started earlier in the year. And up to now, there have been almost close to 20,000 cases reported. And for some reason or another, politics found its way into this scandal with people saying that the president has not done enough to protect his people from this outbreak. And if you look at the outbreak, it started within the biggest provinces in Zambia, that is Lusaka and Ndola. But up to now it has spread to other even smaller provinces of the country, and it's also spread to other countries, for example the DRC, Zimbabwe and Malawi. And as at now they have converted one of their stadiums to treat cholera patients. And as they continue to battle with this scourge or with this disease, all we can do is keep them in our prayers and hope they find a solution to this.
And it's sad losing people. 700 is not a few people. There are many people. We are talking about children, mothers, fathers. So in our country, Kenya, we're also grieving about Kevin Keptum. He had an accident on Sunday together with his Rwandan coach in a car accident. So on Thursday, there was a candle lighting and fellow athletes came up, and it was very successful. And on Friday, he was buried on Friday, and family, friends, and relatives attended the burial to give him his last respect. What amazed me is his house. It was built in 5 days.
You see, they said a fast house for a fast runner. I don't know whether Collins you heard that.
Yeah, I heard that. It just goes to show you that if people wanted things to happen, they would happen. If somebody can build a house in 5 days, I believe there's nothing impossible in this country. But I believe
So
that
it means,
was a
sorry, go
token of
ahead.
appreciation, or a way of idolizing him or celebrating his memories, and we hope his family will benefit from it and at least find solace, even though they might not fully recover from that loss.
Yeah, true. Losing someone is really painful, and for him, he was not only the family, but even the country as a whole was mourning that pain, that losing somebody who had a lot, in store for him, and then you could hear the pain within their family members and his friends. It was just one painful death, and indeed, as you say, whatever they did is good also, despite the fact that he'll never come back, but the government did well. It also showcases that if they want to build roads in time, they will do. If they want to pay people in time, they will. It's just a matter of priority. And anyway, it's okay. It's the country that we live in, and we cannot complain. I want to take you all the way to the western part of the continent, that is in Senegal. And remember the other day, if you guys remember, we were talking about Senegal, and the president, that is Macky Sall, had postponed the elections. So that I've been following up the story, and it has now become another thing happening. And Senegal's president now has vowed to abide by the law, not to extend his mandate beyond April 2nd. He wanted to postpone the elections until when. So he's wrapping his 2 terms in office, and the presidential elections he wanted to be postponed for 10 months. However, the people there who are in charge in such that sector of the election, they said, that is they actually call the constitutional court said it is illegal for him to do so. So Macky Sall is saying that my mandate as the president of Senegal will end on April 2nd. So what we're not sure now, he's saying that maybe the elections will not be fully okay by then. We just hope that everything will be okay by the time they are saying that elections are happening in Senegal. What we hope is peace. I've been seeing a lot of coup d'etats in Western Africa, so that is basically what is happening in Senegal. And there are a lot of elections happening within this within this 2-year period in Africa. Talk of South Africa, talk of Tanzania. We're expecting Tanzania to go to elections next year. Talk of Senegal and so many others. Minor.
Yeah, it's good to hear that news from Senegal. But for me, there are fewer things I trust than the words of a politician. So we don't know; they may just be words and not be acted upon in the fullness of time. But yeah, all you can do is hope. And I want to take us now to the DRC, where something which most of us thought to be unthinkable has happened. A politician has resigned in Africa. I know it's a surprise. It came in as a shock. The Prime Minister of the DRC, Jean-Michel Sama Lukonda, just recently, I think a few days ago on Tuesday, he resigned from his position, and this forced a dissolution of his government, because the government is centered around the prime minister. So he handed in his resignation to the current president, Mr. Tshisekedi. So this man had come into power in 2021 after his appointment by the current president, Mr. Tshisekedi. But his resignation is not fully resigning, because you find out that he has been elected to represent the Kasenga region, and he cannot do the two. He cannot represent Kasenga and still be the prime minister. So he had to choose one between the two. And in his wisdom, he saw that representing Kasenga was a better option, and thus he resigned. So currently in DRC, the situation is not very, very clear, because, with the dissolution of the government, things cannot run. And the president was just urging the people within power to keep this government in place until they find a solution to their problem, or to the current predicament they find themselves in.
It happens that miracles actually happen in Africa. I'm not being sarcastic, but it's yeah. You remember you remember there's a time back in Kenya where we were saying that Kimunya must go. And so people, or we have been hearing such kind of things. So and so must go, and then some of those people who are saying that they must go, they say, "I'd rather die." But that's it's funny. So when we hear, even though it is a different context, when we're hearing that politicians in Africa in high positions such as that resigning, actually miracles do happen. You're heading in the right direction.
It's indeed welcome
Yeah.
news.
All the way to South Sudan. So there has been war in South Sudan that has lasted over 1 year. So over 300,000 people were displaced in Zamzam camp in North Darfur. So there have been cases rising up due to malnutrition in the Zamzam camp. So I think the most affected people are children, and according to MSF in English is Doctors Without Borders, one child dies after every 2 hours. So there was a woman being interviewed on news. She said that when the camp was established, they used to receive food cards, and the hospital was very easy to access. Now they don't have food cards, and some hospitals were closed, and you find that you have to travel over 2.5 hours to access a hospital. So that has been very sad. Yeah.
Yeah, it is indeed very, very sad, and I don't know what I'm looking forward to a continent of Africa where such kind of things are not the case of the day. So anyway, we just hope for the best. What we can do is, they say that you do the small that you can, and I hope something will be done. Now, I want to go back to Senegal. This country, I don't know, Collins, this country has been very interesting. We should find our way there one day. Soon as the Washira Speaks team and the African Corner delegation should lead us there to Senegal. There's a lot of things happening there. So, however, just following the Senegal presidential elections, as I've mentioned earlier, Macky Sall said he is not extending his reign past April 2nd, which was the way it is supposed to happen. Now, what you're seeing is that in Senegal, 15 out of the 20 candidates approved to contest in the delayed presidential elections have united in a call for the vote to be conducted not later than April 2nd. Remember what I've just said earlier, that yes, President is saying I will get out of office by April 2nd, but he's not giving us a guarantee whether the elections will be held then. So what now people are doing now, the presidential candidates are saying we want swift elections, and we want them not later than April 2nd, which will coincide with the end of President Macky Sall's term. Because now you can imagine a situation now where the president is out of office, but there have been no election. So how does the nation looks like? That's a very, very funny scenario. And you can imagine they have 20 candidates who have been approved, 20 to vie for the presidential elections in Senegal. So you guys, I don't know what you can say about that. Remember, in Kenya we had only 4, and by 4 some of them had been kicked out. I don't know by what means. We had our very own members who are prominent members in Kenya, like is it a billionaire or millionaire? Jimmy Wanjigi was, for whatever reason, he was not in the in the list. So many people are vying, and we did not see them. The likes of Kagame, we did not see them. The artist, that is. So this one, we are seeing that Senegal, things are not really looking good. We just hope that there will be tranquility and peace in that country in Western Africa. Minor?
Indeed, what you said is true. We just hope that there'll be peace. And coming back to a beautiful country of Kenya, where the former Prime Minister has announced his candidacy for the AU Commission chairmanship position, we realize that Mr. Odinga is the current opposition leader in the country. And this begs the question: if at all he wins that, what is the state of the opposition in our country? Because he has championed for the opposition for a lot of years, and him leaves that space blank, because very few people can challenge the government as much as he does. And if you know the current situation in the country, life is hard, and we need people like him to champion for our rights, to call out the regime for what they do. And now that he's going, or he's vying for something else, we are left in a situation where we are wondering what next. But Mr. Odinga said that he did this in consultation with experts or with people he trusts. So he believes that this is the right decision. Although some people might try to read into the situation, saying that he was convinced by someone else into vying for the position to sort of calm him down and remove or quell the opposition within the country. But
Watu
Odinga, yeah,
watu wanajitafutia viti. In Kiswahili, watu wanajitafutia viti. People are looking for positions everywhere, minor. And however, just to react to that, where does that leave the state of opposition in Kenya? We had Honorable Mother and also Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka saying that, the opposition will remain in good hands. So,
previously I said that there are fewer things I trust than the words of a politician, and those ones I don't trust at all, because I don't believe they are spoken from a point of honesty or from a point of truth. Everyone has their own interests, so that him vying for that position might in fact be helping their interest. That's why they advised him to do so. But Mr. Odinga says, and I quote, "If the leadership of Africa desires my services, I am open and free to offer myself to serve this continent." And you remember that also previously he had served within the AU as a special envoy for matters to do with construction. So he says that he has the experience and he's prepared to lead Africa going forward. And he was also endorsed by former Nigerian President Mr. Obasanjo. And Mr. Odinga has lost a lot of elections. So we just pray for him this time that he does not take another loss. We pray that for this time he'll win and finally have a rest, because he has fought for us for long, and the best we could offer him is that position. Yeah.
True. Wish him all the best. He was saying he's an engineer, so that's why he was dealing with mambo construction. Jeff?
Raila is the real definition of kuchituma. So in Nigeria, I realized that inflation is all over Africa. So in Nigeria, inflation has risen to 29.9%. The citizens of Nigeria are now tired. They have now marched to Ibadan city, and they are now protesting over the high cost of living. So, but they have peacefully demonstrated. So the most affected sector is food and non-alcoholic beverages.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, are you still there?
I've concluded that the people are now tired in Nigeria and they are hoping for the best for that country. Yeah.
It's okay. People are tired everywhere, It's not only in Nigeria, but also across the continent. However, moving on to South Africa, as you have said, we are seeing a lot of elections coming up in Africa within the next 2 years, and South Africa is not left behind. And there's a lot of political action going on down there. So that is South Africa's opposition party plans to unseat the African National Congress. The ANC has been there in power for a long time. And now thousands of South Africans have gathered in the capital on Saturday to show support for the country's biggest opposition party, as it prepares for a much anticipated national election in which it hopes to wrest control of the government from the ruling African National Congress. And they're saying that they're tired, just the way people are tired in Nigeria. Also, South Africans are tired, and we know we have our friends in South Africa like Ali. Well, we have problems like they call it load shedding in a country developers. Ali is not here because of load shedding. There's no power wherever he is. So you can imagine they're saying that there's too many things like electricity. It's a crisis in that country. And this Democratic Alliance saying that, it's high time we do something about it, and we are taking ANC out of the power seat so that we can be able to rule this country in a better way. So the citizens showcased in that they are indeed sort of supporting the opposition party, but that always happens everywhere in Africa. You see numbers always, but now the at the end of the day, the result is what will determine whether they will unseat ANC or they will not. So basically, that has been much of what has been happening in Africa this week. I don't know whether you guys have anything else to share with our audience before we wrap it up.
Yeah, maybe I'll just share with them what is happening in Kenya. And in Kenya, the big news of the day is that we still have our treasure hunt, but something just minor changed. We have changed the venue from Karura to Word of Life Christian Center in Kabete. All this in an effort to try and make the event a good event for you guys, first of all, and to try to get your money's worth for you. So the date still remains the same, the 16th of March 2024. And we are still urging you guys to pay. We are still urging you guys to send in your payments. Not even if you can't pay the full amount, there's still that option of lipa mdogo mdogo. And some of you guys have paid slowly with that 200 shillings per week and completed your payment. So it's not hard. 200 shillings per week is very affordable. And we hope to keep on seeing more payments from you guys as we continue setting the ground for the event. And yeah, that's basically it. And just to remind you again that our registration will be closing at the end of April, so make haste to make your payments. There are a few days remaining, so you can book your slots within the few remaining days, and we hope we'll see you there.
Indeed, Jeff.
On what Collins has said, the deadline is so near. You need to reserve your slots now. It's only 1,000 Kenyan shillings. You can lipa mdogo mdogo. We changed the venue to Word of Life Christian in Kabete. We did this. We want to make the event very interesting for you. So, and lastly, you can follow us on all social media platforms at Wachira Speaks, and like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you. More information will be handed over soon on across our social media platforms, as Jeff has said. And from my end, my name is Mutathio Wachira Wanyaga. Ici nĩ ngerenwa cia Mũmbi Mũmbũri. Thayo.